to episode 202 here on BSE. Welcome to episode 190 here on BSE. Welcome to Boozy Energy number 4. Welcome to episode 169 here on BSE. Today, I'm going to be tasting G Fuel Bahama Mama. Today, I'm going to be tasting Jeff Bezos' energy drink. Today, I'm tasting balls. First thing I'm talking about here is the color, which honestly is kind of silly and looks like Tony the Tiger bled out in the glass. On the nose, yeah, this smells a lot like a rocket pop. There's aromas of candied cherry, of lime cordial, and whatever blue raspberry is. On the nose, this smells like the aroma in the doctor's office when they're drawing Grimace's blood to test them for diabetes. On the palate, this is full-bodied and it's delicious. On the palate, this is terrible. This is almost unbelievably bad. Honestly, this is the worst I could ever imagine to be. I'm gonna score this 90 BSE points. I'm gonna score it 80 BSE points, and I hope you have an energetic day. And I hope you have an energetic day.
You have an energetic day.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of Thirsty Thursday. What were you gonna say there?
I wanted to do a whole Asami, like a montage of Asami.
I would probably get canceled for one form or fashion. It's sometimes it gets a little bizarre in her comment section after we post one of those. But you know, hey, it is what it is. Everybody, this is Timmy Bluegrass, and for those of you that don't know, Timmy Bluegrass goes a long way back. Back to when I used to do the live show, like. And I still do live shows, obviously, but it was the one where I would take questions from the community, and I would just grind out for an hour or so. And Timmy, I mean, dude, I recall seeing your name for years, not like 2 years, but I'm saying like 3-4 years. It feels like, if not longer, even. You were still
spraying lawns when I first started watching you.
So, the OG.
I mean, like I was there on like episode 3 or something of. I remember all the whiteboards and things like that. So yeah, it was back 17, 18. I can't remember the exact year, but it was really early. Yeah,
I mean that is the OG. So thank you for taking time out of your day to come on. And for those of you that don't know, Timmy professionally is an energy drink drinker. And he reviews energy drinks for these mega corporations. And so he is what is known as a sommelier. And a lot of people equate sommeliers with wine and liquor, right? However, what you have found is a niche market to be able to become a sommelier for the big brands like Monster and Red Bull and things like that, right?
I mean, sort of. I definitely have a real job, like a 9 to 5. Yeah, I haven't figured out exactly how to monetize this energy drink thing, but yes, this is like I don't know, there's like an episode of Jerry Springer or something where my grass life and my professional life and whatever this energy drink thing are all coming together at once.
No, but in real life, you actually are a true certified sommelier, correct?
I'm beyond certified, actually. Yeah, I run the beverage department for a high-end golf course in Northern Maryland. That's my 9 to 5. That's what pays the bills. That's what keeps this bluegrass that I grow alive. And then the energy drink thing is just something that happened on the side. Honestly, it's pretty wild.
So I've got to ask, how did you get into becoming a professional flavor explorer?
So I'll give you the whole life story as quick as I can. So I grew up pretty close to where I live now in Northern Maryland. I never had a lawn or a wine cellar growing up, so there was no, no signs of what would become. I lived for the longest time in like kind of a townhouse condominium, and I don't know, maybe we had like 200 square feet of KY31 back there. And my dad used to have like one of those electric weed whacker things, and he would go out there and hack at it, and he fucking hated it. And I think my mom got a promotion at work, and she just ripped out all the turf and started putting in some garden beds and things like that. And that was actually my kind of first interaction with agriculture, agronomy in general, was my mom growing herbs and tomatoes and stuff like that. But yeah, after that, we had no lawn whatsoever. And the kind of family I grew up in, I think I went to summer camp like 1 year when I was 12. And after that, my dad said, like, that's enough of that shit. Like, you got to get a job. And so I started working in restaurants when I was 14. Definitely under the table kind of dishwashing stuff. And they've never let me out. So I spent my whole life in this business. And I started, I guess, around the time I was 19. This is a good story, actually. I was working at a restaurant as a barback, which, for those who don't know, is someone who like helps out the bartender. And one of the shifts that I worked was with this older woman. She was like 40, 45 or so. She was a manager at the restaurant, but she also did one shift on the bar. And I was, again, probably 18, 19 at this point. And she said, the only way that you can learn to work behind the bar is to taste every single product we have here. And so me and her just got wasted every single Monday for like months on end. Like, this bar, it wasn't like a high end place or anything. It was kind of a neighborhood spot, but it had a pretty decent selection of stuff. And we literally tasted every single thing. And that was my first exposure to beverage. And from there, I just kind of grew. And again, I've never left this industry. So I went to culinary school and then to college in upstate New York, and started working as a sommelier soon after in Boston and New York, and moved back to Maryland about 10 years ago. And that's kind of it. Yeah. Turf kind of came back in maybe, I don't know, around the time I found you at 17, 18 or so.
Well, we also have a professional bareback on the, barback on the show. And that starts with Mr. Ryan DeMay here. And sorry,
Oh.
Ryan, we jumped into this like real quick. Everybody, we got Ryan DeMay and Ray Ito here. Talk to me, gentlemen. How are y'all?
Oh,
Is that Freudian
doing
slip?
great.
Was that a Freudian slip?
Uh,
Too many
bend over,
Reddit
I'll show you.
subreddits.
Oh,
I thought that was Brokeback. Did I get that wrong?
no. No, I just see. I quoted a movie that, of course, you probably haven't seen. Christmas Vacation.
I have seen.
You tried to do the double.
Vacation, but it's been a long time.
You tried to do the double entendre of bareback, right? And then I came back over the top of you with, was it a Freudian slip? And I said, bend over and I'll show you. It's from Christmas Vacation. So that's how we got there. Now, I'm doing well. I'm excited for this episode. It's somebody, I will say this, no man crush, nothing like that, but I admire this gentleman. He works hard at his real job. It's very clear that he has time for his little creative side deal like we do here, and I appreciate that. And he's growing, Ray, a type of grass that not a lot of people have right now, and I'm curious to dig in on that and see how we can ruin it for him, because we're just living here until the next time we kill grass, and then we'll just get back on the surfboard and paddle back out and find another wave, right, Ray? You know about that.
Pretty much. I mean, that's like how everything goes is, it's not long before I'm turning another area into dirt myself. Not long.
That's why we love you.
I mean,
So
this morning's conversation, by the way, Demi, involved soil fumigants.
Oh God.
what are
Yeah.
you fumigating with?
Well, one of my sod grower friends was asking me about the practicality of applying Bazimid or Vapam to his sod
Oof.
beds.
Oof.
And I said, if you asked me this prior to 2000, I would have told you go for it. Because prior to 2000, did you know that literally anybody could walk in and buy Bazimid or Vapam and apply it according to
You
label
know-
directions?
You know what? There's a very actually a very pertinent conversation too to our guest tonight, because at some point, if ever in the future, that well, what his friends call it, I'll call him what his very best friends call him, Timothy Bluegrass. If he ever needs to rid himself of this grass, he very well might need to fumigate, right? Wouldn't you say?
No,
I can use
because
Ray's favorite herbicide, Daiquat
because
for the win.
because he has true or false. I mean, we're going to do a little bit of a spoiler. Is Mr. Timothy Bluegrass here has glyphosate-resistant Kentucky bluegrass as his lawn.
That is true.
Ah.
That is true. But I
Ooh.
believe, Ray, that
You
your
have-
favorite herbicide, known as Red Cap Roundup, could clear that up pretty quickly.
Ooh.
Actually,
I've
I
not
have.
tested
It's not.
I, in
it's
all
not the
seriousness, I
red
think
cap.
Daiquat.
No, it's not the red cap Roundup that is my actual favorite. It's that concoction that the Lawn Stripe showed me one time, and I said, "Please don't use that in your yard if you love your kids and dogs."
Lord have mercy.
No,
What was that?
Okay, Matt. You remember that time that I was freaking out because he showed me that bottle that was a Spectracide product, and it contained Daiquat, Fluazafop, and Dicamba in it.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Wow.
Yeah, and I was asking him, why the hell do you have this?
If it comes from Home Depot, you're in the clear, right? I mean, that's really all you got to look out for. Is what is the retail availability? I like the Roundup Quick Pro, but if I saw somebody mention Monument, and that would be my go-to. I would mix up 15 grams to the acre, and I would go light it up. And you definitely can't plant anymore. It is. It's 3 scoops or one of those. And here's the thing, though: you would be limited on cool season establishment for a long period of time if you did that. So, where if you did go with Daiquat, you would be able to turn around pretty quickly. But all right, so Timmy, talk to us when you were going about turfgrass selection. How did you end up on the Kentucky Bluegrass Provista, the Roundup tolerant and the glyphosate tolerant Kentucky Bluegrass?
So I will tell you a story, Matt Martin, that I don't think anybody knows, even the closest of friends, that when I first started at the golf club that I work at, I was blown away. So again, I had not been on a golf course maybe ever, and at least in, I don't know, 25 years or something like that. And so I roll onto this golf course that's, considered one of the best 25 golf courses in the United States. And I'm blown away by the turf, just completely blown away by it. And so I want to learn about it. And, I was somewhere within my first year or two of working there, I buy my first house. And the super at the time, he's no longer there, but he and I used to, shoot conversations back and forth. And I asked him about what was in the rough, and he said it was mostly Kentucky bluegrass. And so I decided, like, that's what I want to grow is Kentucky bluegrass. And he thought I was completely nuts. Like, he said to me one time, like, Timmy, Maryland is fescue country. This is fescue country. And I was like, but no, you have bluegrass. Like, I'm looking at bluegrass right now. You're telling me that's bluegrass. Like, I want to grow that. And he's like, no, you can't. Like, home lawns, you got to do fescue. And I just insisted. And one time he's like, you and this bluegrass thing, I'm calling you Timmy Bluegrass. And so that's where the name came from. Yeah, so I messed around from like the first days I ever had a lawn with bluegrass, and I was doing fescue mixes and like tiny little test plots of bluegrass. I grew Midnight. I grew, I don't know, a bunch of different cultivars, Blue Bank, Blue Note. Can't remember what else. Mazama. Anyway, I decided to go full bluegrass during the quarantine. I don't know. I just had time. Work was slow. We were open, but work was slow. And so I just said, like, F it, let's give it a shot. And so I renovated in fall of 2020 to Provista. And I guess I probably found out about Provista from Alan Hain when he started pushing the St. Augustine, and I think I went to their website, realized there was a Kentucky bluegrass cultivar of the same thing. And I don't know, I like things that are new, I guess. Like I got one of those Amazon Echo things like right out of the gate, even though like I'm sure Jeff Bezos is like listening to me and my wife, like, have special times. But I always just like things that are new. I love progress. I love technology. I love seeing new things. And so when I heard about Pro Vista, I was like, I want in on this. And I'm sure there's a million people watching who are going to want to know how I got it. And I literally just called them up and like, I don't know. I mean, I talk to people for a living, so I kind of talk my way into it. I don't think that's possible these days. I don't even think they're selling seed anymore, but I think they want to keep it sod farm only. But yeah, that's basically it. I didn't have any magic tricks. I didn't do anything crazy. I just called them up and, ended up talking to some guy. And I guess I pitched him well enough that he decided to sell me 20 pounds of seed.
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want a live action role play here, and you tried to convince me to sell you 20 pounds of Pro Vista seed. Do we have time to do
So
that?
to be honest, Matt, like I basically just called and tried. So I was talking about like I don't know. I started throwing around fungicide names because I'd messed with. I realized really quickly in that Kentucky bluegrass in Maryland was a terrible idea. It still is a terrible idea, and we can get to that, I'm sure. But I knew enough about turfgrass, and I still don't know anywhere near what you guys know. But I knew enough at that point that I could, I don't know. I was throwing around things like exemplar and I don't know, whatever else I was using at the time. Propiconazole and Azoxy and Cleary's 336. And, I made it clear to him that I had experience growing bluegrass, that I wasn't just some idiot who, saw something on YouTube, that I actually had done it. And, I named the other cultivars, Midnight. I don't think I actually grew Blue Bank. I shouldn't have said that. Blue Note and Mazama and Midnight and the ones that I grown. And I don't know. I guess again, I can speak confidently when I need to. So I guess that was it. I mean, I don't know if we can live role play it, but I basically just threw as many fancy sounding names around as I could until he was like, okay.
No, it's
I don't
funny.
know. At a
It's
certain point,
funny
I was
how-
like, this guy's like not going to get off the phone with me until I sell him some grass, and that was pretty much it. Was I figured I would just keep talking and talking and talking until I made some seed. And so he did, and he transferred me over to some lady, and they had it, and it was in my, I don't know, it got here way before I needed it. Let's put it that way. It was in my house within 3 weeks.
That's incredible.
That's
incredible.
That's the secret. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
secret.
but I have no
to
special
winning
connections.
anything.
I have none. So I can't see the YouTube chat right now, but I can't help anybody get it. I know a lot of people want it. We can talk about why they don't want it, RD, but that's a different story. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of happened like that, if you will, and that was that.
It's interesting. This is interesting to me, Timmy, because normally, what I see as far as the grass sales side of things is I see all the time people being sold stuff that they have no damned business having.
Sure.
Okay? They have no darn business having it. I mean, and of course, the good part about that is because there's so much of that going around me, that's why I have a viable business. Because, of course, I'm in the situation of, hi, I just had $50,000 worth of sod installed and I have no stinking idea how to take care of it. I don't want it to die.
Except
Right.
usually that's like a pallet and a half of sod.
In Hawaii, right?
That was
In
in the back of a 3/4
in
ton
Hawaii.
pickup truck, Matt.
They
Exactly.
actually hauled it. They used 7 people that were going to install it to just carry the rolls there.
Almost.
Handcrafted sod.
Almost.
It was couple
You know,
machetes this morning.
This is one topic like I want to touch on while we're kind of we're still in between the booze and the turf, but one thing I've always found, at least outside looking in, right? I look at the beer, wine, and spirits industry kind of like an amateur, right? Like I just drink it, I use it, I enjoy it, it gets me drunk, whatever, right? Where probably people look at turf in a way, well, no, but people look at turf in a way that, unlike us, like are just like, hey, I mow it, I want it to be green, I want to, just be happy about it. I don't need a bunch of other stuff in my mind. So I'm curious though, how much of the wine, spirits, and beer industry now, especially like in the last, say, 10, 15 years, has been wrapped up around like the story or the narrative or the romantic, whimsical shit that gets worked up in the marketing copy and the anecdotal stories and how hard it was to get, or in turf, like how blue green it's going to make your fucking grass or whatever. Like, do you
Is
see
that a
similarities
Carbon Earth
there? And like, no. Carbon Earth, what is that? I don't know what that is. Doesn't exist.
Oh, rest in peace.
I love you.
It was a
Pour one
setup
out.
for a cheap shot. I was doing.
Oh.
It
Oh.
was.
To answer your question, a lot. I mean, I think it's been that way for a lot longer than 10 or 15 years. I mean, the high end stuff is sold on a story. But honestly, I mean, that was one thing. I focus mainly on wine in my job, though I do a lot of spirits work too. We can talk bourbon and the after show if people want and whatnot. But the agronomic aspects of high end wine are super intense. I mean, it's as intense as Augusta National and things like that. I mean, you're looking at people with advanced degrees, and you have 4, sometimes 5 different people who are devoted to just simply agronomic management and high end vineyards, and then a huge vineyard crew. And it's a really ag heavy thing. I mean, especially in the modern era. So but yeah, I mean, in terms of the story and all that kind of stuff with wine and spirits and rarity, I mean, when you get into especially like high end bourbons and stuff like that, it's all based on rarity, and it's all based on some bullshit story about some guy who, lived 100 years ago and, supposedly did this or supposedly did that. So, I mean, there's a ton of it, there's a ton of crossovers in that sense too. There's also a ton of, as likes to be discussed on this show, a lot of BMS in that world. So,
Yeah, and that's what I was sort of getting at was okay, so let me ask it this way: is how much, like in your view, as a true expert, like of just wine, spirits, beer as a whole, right? Or you can take them each individually. How much of the quote unquote high end, top shelf stuff, in all reality, is just pretty much average stuff, not necessarily in terms of taste or quality or anything, but just average stuff that could work just as well as something that's you buy off the shelf at Costco or something like that. I'm just curious in the similarities of like us saying, hey, just use ammonium sulfate or use urea or use the basics. Like, how do you see the similarities there
it's tough
in
to
those?
say. Yeah, it's really tough to say. I would say sizable portion, probably about the same as in turfgrass management. There's a lot of stuff again that's sold simply on the basis of rarity. I mean, again, we can talk Pappy Van Winkle bourbons if people want to talk about that. Those are again literally. I mean, not that they're not good products, but that the reason they get the prices that they do is because they're rare. Period. Full stop. Again, that doesn't mean, and that's where things get complicated. It's why I stumbled on your question. It's not that they're not good products, but the reason that they command the prices that they do is simply, scarcity in the marketplace, and that's true for high-end beer, high-end wine, etc. And frankly, people's belief in quality is oftentimes connotative of how rare something is. So literally, and you'll see that in the marketplace where when supply of a certain product goes up, people's actual belief in its quality goes down, which is pretty crazy to think about, but that's absolutely true in the world of spirits in particular.
You hear that, Matt? Next idea for Singapore: single barrel fertilizer. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
Exactly. With some story about it, and
Yep.
But then you can just water.
Old Grampy Martin down there in Mississippi. He thought, man, I'm gonna put this in a bag. I'm gonna put it in a barrel.
I'm ahead of the curve here. I actually have an original bag of Carbon X, I should say, with humic acid and kelp. I'm selling that for anybody on YouTube for $49.99 per pound. It is original.
No.
My cellar. This is the real deal. This is not. There's no peptides here, sir. No peptides.
He's gonna draw a nude pencil drawing of Matt and put it in there, and he's gonna sell the whole thing as an NFT. $1 million right there.
Split that with me.
I'm full of ideas tonight. I'm full of ideas.
Oh, yeah, the NFT thing. It's all win, no lose there.
Listen,
Can't
my
go wrong with the
favorite
NFT.
comment I got related to that whole thing right there was there was somebody who said, this guy was mowing yards last year, and this year he's making fertilizer in his kitchen sink. And I was like,
What?
that guy right there. And this is when the Carbon products came out. He was like, he was mowing grass last year, and this year he's making fertilizer in his kitchen sink. And I was, you know what bothered me about that whole thing? It wasn't the kitchen sink thing. It was the fact that he accused me of mowing lawns for a living. I was so put off by that. I was like, this guy
Everyone
does
knows you
not
don't mow
understand.
grass, man. Like
I
everyone
don't
knows that.
mow grass. I hate
Exactly.
mowing
How
grass.
dare they?
I mean, that has got to be like the top 10 most triggering moments is Matt mowing grass. Well, gee, I mean, I sympathize with you because do you know what will put me into orbit, Matt?
What's that?
If someone conflates me with a landscaper,
Ooh.
that'll put me into orbit.
Four-letter word. That's like if
Landscaper?
you know,
No.
Ray. This is like if the the beverage rep came in and told Timothy that he had to put Keystone on tap. He would have to be like, listen.
No.
We don't do that, and I don't do that.
You remember at
I think some
Goodwood
people
Brewery
are.
when
Oh,
they had
sounds
the tap of Bud Light, and when you went to it and poured beer out of the tap, water came out, and that was their joke. Did you see that
Where was this?
at Goodwood Brewery?
Oh,
I saw that. I saw that.
I thought that was funny.
Oh yeah. I did. It was in the front of the place and up there.
Yeah.
I remember it was up
Yeah.
by the restroom there. Yep.
Yeah.
Good old Goodwood. Well, yeah, that'll be have to be another stop. We'll have to get Timmy out, break him free for next year's get together. He was sorely missed at that one. So, all right. So back to grass here. All right. So using your cunning powers of persuasion and a great phone voice, clearly. I mean, a great phone
Apparently
voice.
so.
Anybody who's listened to BSE knows this guy's got a wonderful phone voice. You talk him out of the grass. Tell us about like the prep, the mindset, the timing, all that kind of stuff and what were you going from? Like it was just like all those different bluegrasses you had that you were just testing out. That was just the whole yard, or that was just like the side piece?
No, that was mainly in
area?
the back. Yeah, that was mainly in the back. I had mostly tall fescue. I don't know, the same cultivars that probably everyone was watching. This uses Fourth Millennium. I still actually, we can talk a little bit about this. I have some fescue that grows in essentially deep shade. I have about 300 square feet in this area I call the hill. It's a super steep hill. You can barely walk up it. I can barely get a mower across it. It's so steep. And yeah, that's it. You can see how small that is. Maybe 330 square feet there. And that's rebounder. That is, excuse me, that's mainly rowdy with rebounder, a little bit of Fourth Millennium, and what else is in there? Maybe some titanium 2LS or something like that. So anyway, I had basically the same cultivars in different mixes all over the place, and I had some in bluegrass. I don't know. It was just kind of a hodgepodge of experiments and things like that all over the place. But the front, which is behind where this picture is taken from, was mainly fescue. So the reno process was crazy. I've renoed a bunch of times. I mean, I'm not Ryan Knorr, but I'd done a bunch as I did these experiments along the way. And this one went really, really badly. My dog passed away right at the beginning of it, which was horrible.
God.
I was super busy with work. And also in the very front, I'm sure we'll see some pictures of it soon. And this is where Matt, I think I was asking you questions every single week during the live show about this. I took down a 35-foot Bradford pear tree. And I'm sure I've talked about this with some of you before, but they quoted me like, I asked them how much to remove the roots, and they said something like $3,000, and I was like, that's ridiculous. Like I'm gonna do that myself. And so I bought like a Sawzall and like one of those big iron like crowbar things that's like 6 feet tall from Home Depot. And I think I spent 3 hours a day for like 3 weeks straight, like 21 straight days out there digging out roots.
Fuck,
I'm
yeah.
really glad I did. I'm really, really glad. But that was definitely the hardest physical work I've ever done in my entire life. In some ways, I wish I just paid the $3,000 to have somebody else do it. But anyway, the reno process was really rough. I didn't do any kind of prep in terms of soil prep. I should have, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, later on. It's really my only issue. I have a ton of rocks in my soil, leftover construction debris, and things like that. I should have, yeah. This is literally from, I don't know, 10 square feet this summer. That's maybe from 100 square feet this summer. And that crap is all over the place. I should have dug it all out. I should have probably tilled up and then compacted back down. I didn't do any of that. We can look at a soil test later, I'm guess, but my soil's fine in terms of nutrients and pH and whatnot. So I just literally let it be. I aerated, put bluegrass down, topped it with whatever that Lesco stuff is. That's kind of that paper mulch thing, if you will. I've always used that. I've never been a whatchamacallit, peat moss fan, and let it roll. And it went really badly. The Provista took forever to germinate. I want to say 28 days or so. It was really, 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 really long. And I can't speak to anybody watching this, but for me, at that point, I had, some years of experience with grass. I started thinking like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is a disaster. Like, my wife starts asking, like, are we going to have a lawn? And, all that kind of stuff. And finally it came up. It looked really badly going into the winter, but by, I don't know, May of this year, 2021, it was fully grown in. So it's just the reality of bluegrass. And again, I think Provista being a really slow cultivar to germinate. You need some psychological strength to do that. Let me put it that way. I was freaking out at points. I was thinking like, this is just not happening. Because again, I'd done bluegrass a lot of times before. I'd never had 28 days to germinate, and I went August 25th in Maryland, so it was not a late seeding or something like that. I probably should have gone a week or two earlier. If I had to do it again, obviously I would have. But yeah, the process was insane. So it went really badly, but it all, I don't know, as grass tends to, it all worked out.
Shit'll grow back, dude. Whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt Martin.
So
that's what it said at the bottom all of Matt's invoices. He left it by the door. Yeah, shit'll grow back.
It'll grow back. Yeah,
It'll grow back.
So anyway, yeah, that was the reno experience. It was rough compared to any other reno I've done, and I mean, especially for somebody or people oriented around fescue or rye or something. I mean, it was crazy, but it worked out. So everything's good now, and yeah, everything other than that one patch that you just saw is Provista. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know when these are.
Man.
I'll put some dates on them, but you can see this. Most of them are from the fall.
Yeah,
The summer is my busiest season, so I didn't take a ton of pictures. I probably have some. Maybe I can send a J Pink here on the fly, but it looked really rough in the summer. These it looks really good, and that's July 4th right there. So, and you can see that's KY31 and a bunch of other garbage over on the side that belongs to my HOA. So you can kind of see a contrast there.
You marked this one as
what would you
November
call it here? A
12th.
domination line, if you will, to use like the worst term in the world.
Ooh.
What
Put
did
some
you say,
leather
J
on and
Pink?
go out there and mow that lawn.
Yeah,
This
so that's
one is-
mowed with a Susie Homemaker Scott's 15-inch reel mower. There you go. There she is.
Wow.
Yeah, down
Wow.
at, I think at
Right.
that point, that's it. Yeah, that's at 2 and I don't know what that is. It's hard for me to tell from that picture. But 2 and a quarter, 2.5, something like that. I messed around. I literally did not follow the RD Bible. I messed around with heights all the time this season. So I went as high as 3 and a quarter in the backyard and as low as, I don't know, I want to say 1.75 in the front. So I just kind of played around with it, and I ended up settling on 2.5 in the back, which has some shade, and 2 in the front, which is full sun. So yeah, that's the back. So
I can live with that.
I see a couple
I can live with that.
grapevines there. I can't see the one on the left, but there's a couple grapevines there. Anyway, I mean, it looks good. I mean, these are obviously fall pictures of bluegrass in the transition zone where it looks really good. I probably should have included some bad pictures, honestly. I don't think I did any, but you can see it looks nice in the fall. And there we go.
Ooh, there
Yeah,
it
let's
is.
talk about this.
Now,
Let's talk about this.
let's talk about this. So what's the date, rough date on this picture?
May 25th, June 1st, something like that. So this seed head thing, Aldo, who I'm sure is in the chat here, at one point I remember sending this to him or something like that, and him being like, "Dude, your whole lawn is Poa annua." And there's a point where it kind of looks like, like it really looks like that. If you get down in, or if you zoom in, the seed heads are a different shape, obviously, but that's not Poa annua, but it sort of looks like it. It looks really, really bad. And that's in the back where I was mowing a bit taller. In the front, again, I just started mowing much lower, and that did a pretty good job of it. But I found I had to mow every day. And for those not familiar with Pro Vista, again, I'm not pitching this at all. I have no relationship with Scott's. I'm sure Scott's is probably not thrilled with me saying shit like
no,
this.
we
but,
already beat you. We've got a link
we're
in the
posting
description
pictures.
below. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And here's my affiliate link. Okay, sorry, I know what I was going to say, was that one of the things that they pitch you on Pro Vista, or one of its advantages, is that it's genetically slow growing. But I found to keep the seed heads under control, I had to mow every single day at somewhere around 1.752 inches. So
Yeah, I mean that's
again, which is, if the whole point is to not have to mow it as often, that's kind of ridiculous. And that seed head thing, to be clear, lasted 3 weeks maybe. I mean, obviously it kind of faded in and faded out just like anything else, but it was a really, really, really long time. It was brutal, frankly, and it looked terrible in the back. But the issue with me in the back is that I have a lot of shade there, so I can't cut super low. I could cut really low in the front, and maybe I'll go a bit lower. I saw somebody be like, "You got to go lower," in the chat. I don't know. I'm not a super real mo guy. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm also not a stripes guy, which I'm sure is just gonna like send some people into
I love it.
like
I love it.
yeah, I mean, to me, 2 inches is pretty good. The heat in Maryland in the summer is brutal. I think that might be. There's one in here where it's the middle of July. I don't know. I'm sure we'll get to it as we scroll through, where you can start to see the color really fading. Okay, cool. That's August in the backyard. So again, that's got some shade, which keeps it cool, and you can see the color is gone there. It starts to look like crap, and I mean, frankly, I've grown again a variety of bluegrass cultivars, and I don't think any of them really look great in Maryland in the summer. So maybe Ryan Nor can pull that off. I certainly couldn't. So, yeah, we're getting
Yes.
we're going to all the subjects are bouncing out now with the pictures.
That hail?
No, that's ice, and
Ice.
that's his lawn in the summer because
How do you not know
we
about this,
talked
Matt?
about this. No, Matt. He and I talked about this, and he told me that his bluegrass was stressing, and so I told him, "You have that multi-$1,000 ice maker at work. Put ice on that bluegrass because it is stressing from the heat." I literally told
Yeah,
Timmy to ice down his lawn.
yeah.
Seriously.
So I did this all summer long, Matt. No joke, and it was honestly it was a lot of work. So I had this gigantic cooler that every single day I would take to work, and then on the way home I would fill it up with ice and then drag it out of my car, drag it into my house, leave it upstairs. Like my wife would be like, "What is going on? This is insane." And then when I left
This
for
is
work
not
every day, I would take it out and I mean, there's no way, at least for me as a homeowner, to spread ice. I don't know if RD has a professional ice spreader in his arsenal, but I was just literally taking like a quart container and tossing ice all over the place. Like, it was insane. I don't know how much it helped. So that's the question. And I talked about this with a bunch of people. I don't know that. Let's put it this way, especially in the heat of summer in July, the ice was gone within 20 minutes. So obviously, within the canopy, it's cooling things down. There's no way that it couldn't. Did it last long enough to be worth all of the effort? Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure, to be 100% honest with you. So it was certainly an interesting experiment, and it made for amazing pictures like that. It definitely made the neighborhood think that I was even more insane than they already think I'm insane. So, yeah, I mean, it was like that every single day. So, and I mean, that's not that much ice. I mean, I forget how big of an area that picture is, but I mean, I was throwing down as heavy as I could just on essentially localized dry spots or hot spots, where I knew things were struggling just from appearance. So, again, this would only work. Obviously, I work at a place where I can have unlimited amounts of free ice, and my schedule working. I essentially go into work at roughly noon, 1 o'clock, and I come home at, I don't know, 10:30 to midnight, depending on the night. So it works, in just a weird way where, again, I could bring in the ice at night and, toss it out during the day. like I said, I don't know how much this did anything. I would not necessarily recommend it. Moving, I don't know, 150 pounds of ice is really difficult at the end of the night when you're tired. So,
I am speechless.
dude, I'm
Why?
stunned. You need to listen to the Turf Cast there, Matt Martin. There was a question where I pitched this to Ryan DeMay, and Ryan Knorr gave it to him without telling him who it was. And his reaction is definitely worth listening to. I have no idea what episode of that is, but it's absolutely worth listening to.
Listen,
Hey.
there's I understand. Sometimes I get excited into a project, right? And I'll do some things that's probably extraordinary, right? But I will tell you, maybe it's how jaded I've become over my years in this industry. There is not a circumstance, a dollar amount, a customer relationship that is worth salvaging to me that I would tote ice and apply it to a property. And I think that's why I've run out of words here, because
you say that.
I couldn't do
You
it.
say that. But there's somebody, listen, there's somebody out there. Maybe we know him, maybe we don't. But you know what? Somebody out there is going to see this video and they're going to be like, you know what? No, they're going to, no. They're going to monetize it and say, listen, I'm going to send you slow release water.
I was going to say, James LW50 in the chat has already, he better be taking the trademark on that, slow release water.
Yeah.
You can go down to the gas station and we'll get, brought to you by the fine folks at Hydrogen and Oxygen.
Exactly.
Dihydrogen monoxide, links in the description below.
Exactly. Here's my affiliate for slow release water. The Hydrogen company, they should be all over this, whoever that is.
I'm so impressed at your level of commitment. I don't know. I'm stunned. I'm speechless.
I mean, making bluegrass work for me has been really difficult, and I went all in on it. So I figured, when you're all in, you're all in. And
yeah.
Plus, this kind of speaks to just my ethos, if you will, and that I love new ideas and coming up with crazy stuff. And this was actually where I bought. I mean, I'm sure Ray said this too, but where I initially, at least in my mind, have the idea from was an episode of the Turf Cast where Ryan Knorr was saying to Ryan DeMay here that he had at one point talked about this and it was a big joke and things like that. And so that put it in my head, could I actually do this? To be clear, also, I don't think that we've said this so far to everyone listening, but my lawn is only 3,000 square feet. And the area that gets really brutally stressed is, I don't know, maybe 800 square feet. So, and I chose the worst of that 800 square feet. Because to be clear, 150 pounds of ice does not get you very far at all. I mean, if you were to have a 10,000 square foot lawn, you would need thousands of pounds of ice, which, I mean, honestly, even a professional machine is not going to make in 24 hours. So you would need some really souped up, stadium level ice machine. Let me put it this way. There's, this could only work for me in this situation and maybe a couple other people with really small lawns who are growing the wrong grass in the wrong place.
Could you imagine Timmy at the end of the night going by all the restaurants, kicking in the back door, stealing all their ice, having a truck bed full of coolers just packed to the brim? It's all over the news that someone is breaking into restaurants, only taking the ice. Nothing damaged, just took the ice, cleaned the lines while he was actually there. The oddest criminal that has ever existed.
So my neighbor is actually a nurse, and I didn't do this, but I actually considered asking her if she could bring home some extras, but she's kind of, I don't know, she's in her late 50s.
No. You just, you get whatever extra ice the transplant organs are packed in that day, and you just tell her, hey, just go ahead and bring this. Yeah. I mean, a little bit of liver juice, that's no big deal. There's probably some
any iodine.
Probably a little amino acids in there, Ray. Something, there's some protein, some nitrogen
that's
in there.
That's the next level of this business concept, Ryan, is that you just add in, I don't know, potassium and I don't know, whatever else is good to, put on the lawn in the middle of the summer. We have to watch YouTube to find out.
Wasn't that a big thing 10 years ago in the beverage industry? Craft ice. Wasn't that a thing? You can get
artisanal water.
Icelandic. like Icelandic ice, or you can get whatever. Like I don't even fucking know. Finger
I
Lakes
don't
ice.
remember
I
that
have no
honestly,
idea.
but I would not be surprised. I mean, what you can literally
gonna
get
look.
now, this Matt Martin, if you don't know this will blow you away, is that again they sell the whole bourbon industry is predicated on the idea that um, um, hard water is repurposed, or let's put it this way, is used in a euphemistic sense as limestone rich water. And you can literally buy what's called whiskey water, which is just hard water that you're supposed to use with your whiskey.
Oh yeah.
And they'll charge you like $3 or $4 a bottle for that. You can buy it on Amazon right now for ridiculous amounts of money. Once again, limestone rich water, that's hard water. This isn't like spring water or anything like that. It's just literally hard water that they have marketed as being for whiskey. So,
well, Jesus Christ, Timmy, most of the water here in Hawaii, the tap water, can be classified as mineral water.
Oh,
because of
go.
all of the
right, I mean, you're halfway to a
because of all of the silica, magnesium, and calcium dissolved in the water. It can literally be called mineral water. So, to be honest with you, I kind of shake my head at all of these people I see buying bottled water here in Hawaii, when what they have coming out of the water fountains and the taps is usually a lot better than what's in the bottles. Seriously.
I was going to ask who here among the panel has ever bought a bottle of Fiji water?
Oh yeah, sure.
Just me and Demay.
Why would you buy that?
I don't know, but
I was in Hawaii. I was in Hawaii, and it was cheap.
I mean, yeah, in Hawaii, I guess it makes a little more sense, sort of. I mean,
have you seen the bottles of Fiji water at the gas stations, or is that only a thing down here? Is it Fuji? Maybe it's Fuji.
No, it's here too.
Is it
Fiji water?
Yeah, it is Fiji.
Yeah, it's the Fiji water.
Yeah.
It's probably because it'll burn a hole in your pocket, but it tastes different.
Hell yeah!
You can, I mean, this is way off the subject. If anything, it would be for the after show. But you can make, I think this is where Ray was headed too, is that you can make any mineral water you want. You can literally just Google the mineral content, and then you can buy those, whatever it is, magnesium, salt, or whatever you want, and then just literally add it to your water, and it'll taste identical. So if you have a particular favorite water, you can look up on Google what the mineral content of it is, and then buy those things, and you can make, millions of gallons for, the price of what you pay for a case of that water. So.
Everyone in the chat is going nuts right now.
The thing. I mean, you can have carbon off water, Martin. I mean, you can, peptide rich water. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're talking about. I mean, my wife does this peptide thing. I'm sure other people's wives do here too. Yeah, peptide water. It's the new thing. We're just launching business concepts left and right here, sir.
Yeah, I mean, this is a brainstorming session more than it is anything. What's in your glass right now, by the way?
Oh, actually, while you have the opportunity, this is a Thirsty Thursday engraved glass, and I am drinking a little, what am I drinking? Four Roses single barrel. I can't exactly say where this came from, but it's a barrel selection from a local vendor, let's say.
Nice. Very nice.
But this is correctly glass. This is sommelier approved. I'm sure you can at JPink and find out how to buy one yourself.
If there's any left, I don't know. That was a limited run. Ray,
never mind.
If I recall correctly, was that Four Roses single barrel that I was drinking in Louisville that night? That on the night, if you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, that was.
That
was Four Roses, and if I'm not mistaken, I actually sampled some too, and it was pretty good.
It was tasty. It was good.
The
Four Roses single barrel.
Four Roses at the high end is excellent.
It's
relatively affordable.
Because honestly, that was I told you, Matt, if I'm in Louisville and Tennessee, I'm not going to leave without sampling some of the local products.
And we did.
We sure as hell did.
Matt, there are 5 whiskey glasses left. I just looked.
Oh, there we go. There we go. On the limited release, we have 5 engraved Thirsty Thursday whiskey glasses left for a limited time. You can head over to
Sommelier
thegrassfed.tv
approved.
/shop. And it is sommelier approved. And there we go. So talk to me about, I want to know, give me the early success stories with the bluegrass where you felt like, I got this. Everything is going good in the world. My wife approves of everything I'm doing. Tell me about those days.
I mean, I don't know. That was probably, it started in May, and we can actually. This is the opposite of what you wanted to, or what you just asked about. But I made a crucial mistake only on part of the lawn at the end of July. We can get back to that in a second, but that was really my only mistake of the year, and it was a pretty brutal one. But other than that, it recovered by September. What I do each September is I essentially use one of those kind of Susie Homemaker hand aerator things, and I just bounce around the yard. And whenever I hit a rock, I take one of those aeration things that you put when you're marking sprinklers, and I throw that in the ground, and then come back, dig the rock up, and try and put the turf back as best I can. I end up ripping up the turf, which is one reason I like bluegrass, because it'll obviously fill in for me without overseeding. But yeah, I mean, by September, after that process, the lawn was singing. It was singing from probably May until mid July, and that's when the heat really hits here in Maryland. And to be honest, I don't know that as a homeowner on native soil that I could do a lot better than I'm doing. I'm sure somebody could. Again, I'm sure Ryan Noor or somebody, he's doing ryegrass when it's 6,000 degrees outside his house and whatnot. But at least for me, and also to be clear, the summer is the worst time of the year for me in terms of having time to actually spend on the lawn. It's the busiest time of the year at work, as one might expect. So yeah, I mean, if I get through July and into August and make it through that kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, old fashioned aeration kind of thing, pulling out rocks, I'm generally, doing well by the middle of September. And most of the pictures that he just had on the screen were from late September or October, November, and whatnot. So that's generally when things are at their best. Yeah, I don't know when, again, some of these are particularly from, but give or
Well,
take that time. So,
well, tell me about the experience, the July, where
sure.
how catastrophic
Yeah,
was it?
so I did not use a pre-emergent. Whether you should or should not with Provista, we can get into that actually if you'd like. I'm sure RD might
Sure.
have some thoughts there, but I did not for a couple reasons. One is that I've always tried to maximize root growth at essentially at the cost of anything else, just so that I can make it through the summer with bluegrass. Um, Two, I was just busy with this whole energy drink nonsense that was part of it, and three, I just was indecisive about it. And so anyway, I didn't do that. I had some crabgrass come up, and probably in the third week of July, we had a dip in temperature for 2 days down into the 70s. And I thought it would be smart to spray a full rate of mezzo with some iron and a MSO. Sorry, I meant to say quinclorac. So I did a full rate of quinclorac with MSO and iron in July. And I just didn't, like, when I think about it now, it was like the stupidest thing I've ever done, because I'm usually pretty good about thinking of things big picture, but obviously I didn't. And the grass was super stressed, and it just literally all turned to, like, it looked like the Popeye spinach or something like that. It just turned spinach brown green and just looked terrible. I don't think I sent JPEG a picture. I probably should have. Again, I have no, I don't claim to be the greatest or anything like that. I'm happy to show ugly pictures, but I don't think there is one here. So anyway, yeah, it looked really, really bad. And I only did part of the front with it where the crabgrass had really come in. The back gets enough shade, honestly, that I had almost no crabgrass coming in without pre-emergent. But the front got some. And again, I was basically just hand pulling it or painting it with glyphosate. I didn't do a full glyphosate spray at all until the fall, actually. But I was kind of spraying here and there. And yeah, and I did that Clorox thing, which was a really, really stupid idea. So again, everything came back. I mean, it's grass, it always comes back, but it looked really bad for almost a month. The whole of end of July into the end of August, because we were at 95 degrees all the way through the end of August here in Maryland, this summer at least.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's a brutal time of year, and adding MSO to anything that time of year, especially on cool season grass, is always going to be color changing at the least.
I think what I was thinking was, I was like, oh, it's below 85 degrees, so I'm good to go. And obviously, again, like, you don't need to know that much. It was a really stupid decision. You just got to think about the life in context. And I'm really good about that. But I definitely wasn't in that decision. It was one of those spur of the moment decisions that after I did, I was like, oh, this was a bad idea. And sure enough, it was a really, really bad idea. But again, it was only part of the lawn, and it came back. Everything's fine. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, to speak to your earlier question, though, Matt, my strategy is not particularly complex. It's a lot of fungicide, and a lot of water. And again, I need to refine that. I guess going into we can talk about that to some going into 2022. I need to think about my fungicide apps versus watering and not going too crazy with water and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that's generally the name of my game, is apps for soil apps for a necrotic ring spot and for summer patch, and then foliar apps for dollar spot, and keeping that up all the way through. I'm starting. I think I do my first summer patch app in May 6th, which frankly on new Kentucky bluegrass was probably not needed, but for me, summer patch. I had summer patch happen maybe in 2019 or 2020, and it was brutal. And that was kind of my wake up for root diseases. And Ray and I have discussed endlessly, kind of take all and summer patch kind of similarities and things like that. So I go pretty aggressive on fungicides against summer patch, just trying to keep it at bay as best I can. So I'm sure I'll get some at some point, but again, I'm pretty aggressive on it. So,
well, we'll start diving into the specifics of your lawn and your programmatic approach here. But real quick, what does it look like when you apply glyphosate to your glyphosate resistant Kentucky bluegrass?
Nothing. I mean, it's in that sense. Again, I don't. I want to be as honest as I can about Provista. You saw the seed heads, how ridiculous that is. I talked about the renovation process and how difficult that was, but the glyphosate tolerance is real. I mean, there's nothing really to say about it. What you spray that's not, Provista dies, and the Provista, hangs right through it. There was actually a point where I just, as a matter of, I ended up spreading some seed into a garden bed by accident during the renovation, and I had some Provista there, and I literally just painted it like you would, with just a crazy amount of glyphosate, and it turned brown and it started struggling. But I think it was about a month later, it was back and just fine. And I mean, I was going some ridiculous rate. I can only imagine what my pounds AI per acre would have been on that. So, I mean, again, it is truly glyphosate tolerant. I'm sure you could overdo it at some point. I don't know what that point would be. One thing I will say, if you want to go ahead.
No, I was going to say, have you used it in a spot spray application? And if you do you notice any growth retardation as a result of it? I'm just curious.
A little bit, yes. So okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I'm sure you know, you well know, and much of the audience may or may not know, glyphosate was originally, a PGR to a certain extent. So, yeah, it definitely does that. But again, I don't have that much, and a lot of times I just hand pull. Again, when you have a small lawn as I do, I'm not out there. Frankly, setting up the sprayer and cleaning it is more time consuming than just walking around and pulling stuff. So, again, what I do sometimes is I'll paint, and that'll sometimes knock back some of the Provista. It'll definitely brown it out a little bit if I'm hand painting, but most of the time, again, especially with crabgrass in the front, and I don't know, even Poa annua, a lot of times I just pop it out of the ground. So this year, with some advice from Mr. DeMay here, I did spray a full app. It was a little bit late, partly just due to rain, but I did a full glyphosate spray in November. I want to say around the 14th or 15th. Actually, I put some ammonium sulfide in it, and Maryland has a fertilizer ban after the 15th, so it was definitely before then. We'll have to see how that affects Poa annua next spring. But in terms of growth slowdown, I'm not doing it enough that I can really, that it really matters. Let's put it that way.
Sure. DeMay, while you stepped out, we talked about a pain point of spraying a full rate of MSO and drive in iron during the peak summer, and it definitely caused some discoloration, but we saw some recovery. But it seems like the rest of the time it goes well. And then
Yeah, I mean,
that whole thing was spurned because he skipped a pre-emergent that year with the intent of improving root quality moving into periods of biotic and abiotic stress, right? So let me
it's
ask you.
definitely. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let me ask you this, Demay. Has sticking to a post-only program been an approach you've ever tried playing around with Provista?
Not specifically. Okay, so a couple of things. Let's talk about Provista because that's sort of the star of the show tonight. So with Provista, I would absolutely be on board with skipping a pre, and that has a lot to do with not just the glyphosate tolerance, right? But and I'll basically because of the root system. So the root system on Provista is much more dense, but also much more shallow. So you have a lot of root mass. You don't have a lot of root depth, and when you get into certain situations, and we haven't, I don't think we've talked yet about irrigating this stuff, but you really can't let this go too long without irrigating it because of that reason, right? Because you have this really, this short-ish fibrous root system that's a little bit different than a typical Kentucky bluegrass. So anything I can do to save those roots, yeah, I'd be all on board with that. The thing I don't know about Provista, because quite frankly, I haven't had a ton of experience with it, but enough to play around with it. I don't know a whole lot about its tolerance to herbicides. So I'm wondering if that that drive MSO, if that was just a reaction to the MSO and the temperature at the time of application. I don't know. That's what I'd be interested.
So to
to find out.
rehash
Go
the
ahead.
story quickly, Ryan, it was a stupid decision, but it was during a temperature dip down into the 70s. But the grass was just super stressed from heat, so was the long and short of that. So it wasn't the temp at application; it was just a matter of applying a full rate of quinclorac with MSO during a time of stress, which was stupid. In terms of other herbicides, I don't know. I've used Speed Zone on it once to get rid of some clover and stuff like that. I used I don't know, triclopyr to get rid of. Hairy bittercress is a huge thing in this area. I don't know why. I've never seen more hairy bittercress than this exact house that I live in now. Maybe I'm just more aware of it. I don't know. Actually, you want to hear a funny story? This is somewhere on the lawn forum is documented. I got so much hairy bittercress in the renovation, and I hadn't put down any herbicides that I literally picked it all and made an herb butter out of it for a steak. No joke. And it was delicious, actually. It was really delicious. It was really good. Hairy bittercress is actually pretty tasty. I had no idea until I ate it. But it has, for those who don't know, it has a watercress like thing. It worked really well. But anyway, I haven't used, to answer your question, Ryan, I haven't used that many herbicides. Again, like I said, I hand pull a lot, and I don't know. I mean, the grass is dense. I don't have a ton of issues with it. So clover. I don't know. I can't really think of too much, to be honest. When I did that spray this fall too, I mean, I don't have any hairy bittercress in the lawn. I don't have any weeds at all in the lawn right now. One thing we
I
can
would
talk about,
love.
and shit, I wish I had included a picture, is what this stuff looks like in the fall, though. I mean, in the winter when it's dormant, it looks like Bermuda. I mean, it looks really, 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 really bad. That was one thing. I think you might know this, Matt. I know Ryan and Ray do that. I painted the entire front, so it looks better there. That's one reason I don't have a picture of it, is that most of it's painted. In the backyard, I didn't take a picture, but the backyard looks like dormant Bermuda. For
I'll
those
see
who
if I
want
can
to
find a
see,
good one.
I think I have a picture somewhere that I can find. Also, Ryan DeMay posted somewhere a picture of a sod farm. The stuff does
Yeah.
not look like grass in the winter. It looks dead. I mean, my wife literally sometimes is like, "Is the lawn coming back?" And, yeah, don't worry, it's cool. It looks dead. So it looks really, 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 really bad.
That is interesting
part of the
to me.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna find.
When
the
does
one I've
that
got.
start? Like, what is the temperature catalyst, or is it a snow event? What escalates that dormant period?
Below freezing for multiple nights. I mean, again, just to be clear for everyone watching this, I'm speaking only to my own experience here. I am not a Provista expert. I have no connections to Scots anymore, so I can't speak to anybody but myself. But for me, first year, I had almost no issues in the backyard. The front, where there's a lot of wind, which I'm convinced is impactful there, it was, probably in mid-December. This year, it was late November, so I'm not sure if the backyard where I sprayed a little heavier with glypho, it looks a little worse. I'm not sure if that's related or not, to be 100% honest with you. But the front, it's hard to tell exactly how it looks too, because again, it's painted. But the spots where I didn't paint as well are a bit greener than the back. But yeah, it looks rough. That's one thing to think about for people. I saw there were people in the chat who were trying to figure out, talking about it. Yeah, there you go, perfect. So that's what it looks like.
Ooh.
That's
Yeah, it looks dead.
end of March in Ohio, Central Ohio.
Yeah.
Go ahead, give us a close up here, J Pank.
Yeah, it's not good, man.
Sure.
It's not good. It looks bad.
So this is
exactly.
what it looks like close up. So Ray,
Yep.
very much like Dormant Bermuda, where you've got to
Very
go out
much.
there and kind of scalp it and
Yep.
open up
Scalp
that
it down.
canopy. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. This is
Yeah.
very much. This is one of those grasses, Timmy, where almost like what some of the really high end bent grasses are like on putting greens, like where you
Yep.
at different times. I mean, it's not like a long grass. Like you have to play around to make this.
Yeah,
work
it looks like some of the
and
bends on
look
the
the
course
right.
where I work, actually.
You
There
know,
you go.
here's an alternate thought. I mean, I don't know if we talked about this previously, but Ryan,
Yes, sir.
what would happen if Provista was kept at, say, 3/4 or 1 inch?
So let me see if I can find that picture. They have a plot at the headquarters there in Marysville, Ohio, that they keep at 1 inch or a shade under. It looks pretty darn
Mhm.
good. And
The reason why I ask,
go ahead.
the reason why I ask is because I know that when you keep it lower, you kind of mitigate a lot of that brown and fluffy looking appearance. You keep it short, and also here's another thought: is that when you keep it short, the sun is able to keep the soil warm.
Yep. You definitely get a quicker greening effect. Like a golf course is always a good study in that because just take away sand-based greens for a second and the temperature inversions you get in that sand-based system versus the native soil. But just watching grass green up on a golf course, like it starts on your tee boxes and your fairways and it works its way out. So just by height of cut, you can see it. The ability for radiant heat to be drawn in by the soil and warm things up and get things going a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's just,
Mhm.
and I know we kind of talked about this a little bit on the Discord, but that is where, to me, in a lot of cases, mowing low starts to simplify your lawn care a little bit
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
on several levels.
Um,
On several
yeah.
levels, I mean, because for me, for example, high cut grass just starts to add complexity. Actually, it adds.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, yeah, there's no disagreement there. I mean, my main issue, to be honest with you, with going super low, it just has to do with the equipment I have. I don't have a garage. Again, I'm living, as I think most people can see in these pictures, in a townhouse. I have 3,000 square feet. I'm using a manual reel mower. It goes
Mhm.
from, whatever this is. I think I have it set at the 1.5 to 2.5. You can basically go on 1 inch ranges. So I do the front. I think that's what my plan is next year, is to do the front at 1.5 and the back at 2.5. My issue with the back again is that it's partial shade, just to be straight up with you. And I found when I brought that down really low that it really suffered. There just wasn't enough leaf tissue for photosynthesis.
Not enough sun. Yeah,
So
you weren't getting enough sunlight
yeah,
back there,
exactly.
of
So, but then I'm
course.
stuck with this mower situation where I need to. Again, I literally have to take out my toolkit and take the mower apart if I was going to do, below. The Scots doesn't even go below an inch, but if I was to go 1 inch there and then 2.5 in the back, so um, honestly, again, I've had pretty good results with 2.5, and I think 2.5 and 1.5 is going to work out well. I mean, I could buy another manual reel mower if I really wanted to go below. I would probably need to sand cap the front to do that, honestly. The other issue is that, again, we talked about this earlier. I took down a 35-foot tree, so I have a lot of soil movement up in the front.
Yeah, your ground
It's
is
just,
still shifting. Yeah,
yeah, for
your
sure. I
ground
mean,
is
that
still kind of
was
moving
again
around a lot.
September. Yeah, that was August 15th of 2020 that came down. So it's only been 16 months at most. So I mean, I could still sand cap it, obviously, but need to be continue. I mean, obviously, I need to continue sand capping, but I would probably be needing to do way more regular sand applications than otherwise. And again, I don't know how long we're going to be at
When do
this
we
house, so I'm sure this is disappointing people in the chat, but yeah, I just don't think that I'm
when
going
do
to
when do we
bother
start?
to. What do you mean when we start with sand caps? Oh, I don't know. Probably next spring, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I've thought about it, to be honest. So I don't think I'm going to do the back, just largely because it doesn't matter. That's where the dog runs around. It looks good. It doesn't look great. You know, the dog. There's always dog spots back there that I'm, constantly, replugging and whatnot. But the front, yeah, I'll probably sand cap in the spring. So. Again, do I want to go super low with it? I'm not sure. Like I said, I'd have to buy another mower to really do that. So, is that an expense worth having, or take up space and shit? I don't know.
Don't
The
worry
whole
about
thing,
the
the whole
price.
thing
Vista
is
looks really
interesting
bad
to
in
me.
the water.
This is another thing I wanted to ask about is so I know that with Summer Patch there is some action that Kentucky bluegrass responds well to with manganese, right? And a soluble manganese source. I'm not talking about manganese oxide. I'm talking about like foliar.
Oh, too bad, too sad.
What? Why did I? Because the idea is to raise the tissue
If you know, you know.
levels. The idea is to raise tissue levels. Is that correct? Or talk to me
Yeah, for
about
Summer
manganese
Patch.
sulfate. Yeah. Talk to me about manganese, soluble manganese sources for Summer Patch because I don't really know a whole lot about this. I've read about it before. I've seen people do it, and actually have success with it. Does it work
Let me see
on? And
here.
what's the premise behind it? And does it work specifically on Provista? And then, Timmy, have you ever attempted to make applications of manganese sulfate in an effort to reduce summer patch severity?
So this is news to me, to be honest with you. I have not. I feel like I've read everything about Summer Patch I could read, but I've not read this, so I don't know that at all. I'll leave that to RD. What I use for micronutrients is some product, MFT or something like that. I'm not sure. I have no
Trash.
idea if that's any good or not. But I'm not. In all, I mean, I'm joking, obviously, but that's my micronutrient source. An ounce of that per month during the growing season. Um, I don't think I've applied. I've never applied magnesium sulfate as a standalone, and I don't think I've done anything else. Yeah, I mean, again, my micronutrient thing is that I used a little bit of. Actually, Ray and I had a conversation about this of what's that stuff, microgreen that I had left over from I don't know 2018 or something this fall, which obviously with that citric acid nonsense. It made the grass very dark green. Some of those pictures that you see have the microgreen effect. But anyway, those are my only two, and I used that again just one time this season. Every other app of micronutrients was MFT. So.
And it's not.
Sure.
Listen, I don't want to make it sound like this is going to 100% eliminate the requirement of a fungicide here, but there is some data, and looks like what I'm looking at here, Demay, is roughly an ounce per 1,000 square feet of straight manganese sulfate. So
That
we're talking about
sounds about
soluble.
right. So 1 times.
It's a 2 pounds per acre.
So 60. Yeah, I mean the lower.
acre.
So, or you can go. I mean, I've seen manganese deficient soils though, where they're going. I've gone as high as like 5, 6
Oh
pounds
shit!
per acre.
Okay.
Okay,
So
And like
I've
monthly.
used,
That's on
I've used
deficient soil.
I've used as much
High spray
as
volume.
4 ounces per 1,000 square foot manganese sulfate per application, and that is again as a mitigating measure for the various patch diseases. I've done it too. And conversely, Ryan,
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this before, but observationally, in the days or the decades before when I used to use Mancozeb on turf, here's the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've made so many applications of that mancozeb in a year, disease season was over. And in following years, disease season didn't even come.
Really?
Because when you're applying 8 ounces per 1,000 square foot mancozeb wettable powder for every month, isn't that like a ton of manganese being applied?
It is, yeah.
Isn't that like
Shit
a
ton.
ton, like a shit ton of manganese? Where if I could equate that to, say, the equivalent of maybe 2 to 4 ounces of manganese sulfate per 1,000 square foot, because, and also the other effect that I'd see from that is the grass would always turn way greener, way thicker, and that's independent of that blue-green pigment that they formulated 4-WP with. Okay?
For anybody that's ever sprayed liquid versions of mancozeb, has turned grass almost an ashy color before. It's an
Well,
ashy
that's
Yeah,
cream.
like a gray,
color.
like a real grayish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the mancozeb flowable looks like I don't know, bad mustard. It's kind of that. Yeah, it looks gross. Okay, it looks gross.
We call that stadium mustard here in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
I may
But
have
then-
sprayed that out of a permagreen. I don't know.
Oh,
Then-
Matt, what are you doing to yourself?
What are you talking about? What do you think I was doing? I was doing myself a favor.
That's like not beating off for a month and then going on your honeymoon. I mean, good God. What are you doing?
Dude, you should have seen it. It was a sight to behold. First off, the majority of the tank was mancozeb, right? Because the your application
Yeah,
rate is so
because
high.
it's like 12.8 ounces per thousand. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Get
And
ready
I'm
to
only
send it.
spraying 32 ounces per thousand, right? So we're talking about a 25% or 33% used
30
dilution here.
Yes.
And so it was viscous to say the least, but very effective, very very effective. I wish mancozeb
Oh, I bet.
was still labeled for lawns.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, with patch diseases in general, mancozeb has shown some here. I know over on the lawn forum, I think it was Pete 1313 was playing around with acidifying his soil and applying some manganese sulfate to help with that. I don't know. I'd be curious if you feel comfortable trying it in an area.
Sure.
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
it's fascinating to me, specifically with the response that there does seem to be a decent amount of data to specifically Kentucky bluegrass. Now, the wild card in this whole thing is, I don't know what happens with the whole gene manipulation process to produce Provista. Whenever you go down that rabbit hole, if there's one thing I've learned from Sean Smith is that when you manipulate one pathway within the plant, you're oftentimes affecting many other pathways within the plant. And so that would be another thing if it was public data, would be to see, what is altered through that gene mapping that takes place, right? But
They ain't telling you.
hell
yeah,
no,
I'll say.
Go ahead.
I'll say this: is just because a gene is hybridized does not mean it's expressed, right? And the iterations that they've gone through with the different generations of this grass have been such that the first generation, like they knew coming out, they just had to get it in the ground and try it out, and that one was incredibly disease prone. The 3 sod farms in the country that grew it would tell you the same thing. Even the Scots folks would tell you the same thing, and they've made it better in that regard, but they would still tell you to run a traditional bluegrass fungicide program for it because it is not more disease resistant. The claim benefits are obviously the Roundup tolerance, right?
Yes.
they'll say that it'll save you water.
They don't say
Not
that
really.
anymore, so they backed off that. They say it's like,
Did they?
I forget. They have a new term for it. You can go. People can go to their website if they want to see, but they're not saying that because they found that that's not true. I found, as I think you have, Ryan, that it actually needs a little bit more than other bluegrass cultivars.
Yeah.
Again, that's not science. That's just personal experience. But I found, personally, that it needs a little bit more. Not a ton more, but a little bit more. I don't think they're making that claim. The one they make is the reduced Mohs, which I find to be true. They say it's 50% less. I found about 40% less, which that's cool. I mean, that's definitely good. Again, especially for me, that's one reason. Actually, Matt asked me about this. That's one reason that I wanted this, is that the summer is so busy for me with work that being able to back off a couple Mohs and get in a few more fungicide apps is. I definitely didn't spend any less time on the lawn, but I was able to make sure I didn't miss a single friggin' fungicide app this summer. So that was one reason why. But yeah, I mean, those it's basically that and the glyphosate are the two things. I think the water thing is nonsense. So. They say you can use less fertilizer. I don't know. I'm not sure why that would be true either way. So
I think what they're saying there is that there's less biomass, and therefore you theoretically should be able to use less fertilizer. So
yeah.
look at that, Matt. Do you have 100% beauty rating on you?
No.
Matt
I'm somewhere between 0 and 10%.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say 105 to 110. Actually, it's 105 with your shirt on, 110 if you take it off.
Buttons.
100. Hey, if you get those nipples pierced, though, we're gonna go to 112 and a half. I think.
I'm not 18 anymore. Am I?
Hey, I think you could still open those holes back up and make it work. All right. There's people that'll help you at the mall do that. All right, just go see them, please.
Hi, sir. I did this thing when I was 18, and I need you to put a barbell through it, please.
I'm picturing you at Claire's at the mall, or that little like piercing kiosk. Your big 6'4" gangly ass and some 4'11" chick like reaching up with the piercing gun, trying to. Like, is it lined up? Like,
some
you're looking down, trying to do one of
girl.
these?
There's a oh man, yeah. I would go to jail so fast. Are you kidding me? It would be like, what is this guy? It's full of like, you go walk into Claire's. What's the average age in Claire's? Like 12. And could you imagine me going in there and exposing, removing my shirt? I mean, I think if I had the testicular fortitude to even do that, I would just walk in with my hands behind my back and be like, just go ahead and arrest me now. But while you're arresting me, use the gun. Thanks.
Is this what January and a turf grass show devolves into, just by definition?
Yes, it is.
Yes. I mean, and
no,
and you know what?
We're just trying to fulfill.
And you know what doesn't
fulfill Matt's news.
Doesn't help.
Go ahead. Okay.
And you know what doesn't help? We got the librarian sitting here with us.
So listen, I'm just trying to help Matt fulfill his New Year's resolution of having more holes in his body, and whether that be from a testosterone shot or some type of piercing or whatever. All I want for Matt is more orifices. That's all I'm saying. So back on topic here.
Is important, men. Go get your shit checked out. Don't be running around with crazy levels of inadequate testosterone. I'm telling you, it affects your personal life. I know from experience. I'll talk about it soon in more detail.
Yeah, it'll help your social agenda if you're into that. So, anyhow, no, I think the big things that I see it doing well in a practical sense, right? The mowing thing is for sure. Like, and I've had a few people tell me that they've not seen that. I had a sports field that's got it here about an hour outside of town that they are absolutely Ray throwing all caution to the wind and probably throwing like 5-6 pounds of N a year on this stuff and just sending it. Just sending, and it is growing. It is not stopping. So that's runaway freight train stuff. And then the other situation that it's done really well in is shade. So Kentucky bluegrass in general as a species is not very tolerant of shade. Ray, what's the one thing you run into with Kentucky bluegrass and shade? That one disease makes it all white and makes it just a big, huge pain in the butt.
Oh, that is the powdery mildew. That is powdery mildew. And the reason why I'm familiar with powdery mildew is I still remember the old advertisements for that product called Tersan OM.
Yes.
Okay, I still remember the ads, and basically what this stuff was came in a 5-pound bag, and it contained 2 fungicides, Cyram and phenylmercuric acetate.
Ooh.
And its claim to fame is it was especially effective for snow mold, dollar spot, and powdery mildew on Kentucky bluegrass. That's why you'd be soaking down the shady parts of the fairway with Tersan OM. And of course, this all went away by 1980 something.
You can still get Thyram. Good old spot treat. That's
still...
great deer repellent for the folks at home out there. I'm not sure. I don't think it's labeled for anything on residential, but you can keep some deer away with that stuff.
Because actually the exemption is that you can apply spot treat to a residential landscape to keep deer away. Personally, though, you know what my preferred deer repellent is?
Shotgun.
Remington?
It involves some cloves of garlic, some sprigs of rosemary, and some peppercorns, and some bacon. And
you might make a sauce out of that.
Now we're talking. This is delicious.
Yeah, and you know why? That's called a bacon wrapped venison roast. Your deer problem is solved.
Now let's see here. No, I was gonna say that's what you apply to the lawn, and I was gonna say, on the nose, smells like a lawn boy's jockstrap. On the palate, tastes like flagship.
Oxide.
Hey, what would Matt Martin say? What would Matt Martin say right now?
On that one.
Zapow!
Honestly, this is again completely anecdotal, but I had a good experience with when I painted the front. The deer stopped coming around. So I have a major issue with deer in the fall. Kind of wander.
Well, I was going to say I saw the woods, and I was curious. Like, do you have any raccoons digging for grubs and anything like that too, or no?
No, I don't have enough organic matter. I mean, I just have leftover concrete junk and sand and hard clay underneath that. Honestly, I treat for grubs, but I don't even know if I need to be honest with you. Raccoons are not an issue. It's really in the late fall that the deer come around and they'll eat shrubs and stuff. I mean, you can see in some of those pictures the shrubs look terrible because they've eaten them back and stuff. But I found once I painted that they stopped coming around. So I don't know when that is, but you can see here they've eaten some of those. Those are summer sweets.
Oh wow,
cleft up front, and they've eaten the heck out of those. So they ate some of the annuals and some of the other pictures too. So I found once there's no pictures here. I would just to be clear for everyone, there's no pictures of painted turf here. I didn't include any of those, but I found once I painted the turf, they stopped coming. That could be coincidental though. Again, I'd have to see next season.
I'm not gonna lie.
Could be.
I want to set up a redneck, sorry, Nick, a redneck ground stand and bow hunt the deer encroaching on your property. Is that legal in your neighborhood?
No, I mean I couldn't fire a gun. I would go to prison for firing a gun.
No. Bow hunt. I would do it with a bow.
Bow and arrow.
Or a spear. How big a boy are you? I'd spear a deer.
I mean, I'm 6'3". I'm not as tall as you are, but I'm pretty big. So I mean, I could definitely hold a bow and arrow. I don't know. I can't imagine that's illegal.
Are you hearing this? We are going to get whiskey drunk, stalk and spear a deer one morning. Here is the caveat, though. To really make this a sport, we have to start drinking the previous night and catch the deer the next morning. That is the sport, sir.
My only condition for this is I want carbon earth mineral water in the stand while we're hunting.
And
that
we gotta
cures
stay
all
hydrated.
hangovers.
The other reason this is really important that you do it with that sequence and that schedule, Matt, right? Figure you start drinking 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Get out in the deer stand 6 o'clock, before sunrise. Make sure you're there right at dawn.
Yeah.
Probably have that deer gutted and hanging in Timmy's garage by 9 o'clock, and then I'm pretty sure all the malls in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area open by 10, so you can get those nipples pierced right after. A nice little date. And all those 12-year-olds are going to be in school, Matt. You can go in there and you can let them loose. That sounds like, dude, listen. This is set up for one of the most awkward fucking vlogs of 2022. I guarantee you, if we can make this happen. This is Reddit Central right here.
And that's enough time for a venison dinner by about 6 or 7. Easy.
Matt, we went on a Reddit wormhole. I want you to look at r/interesting as fuck, and you would probably have like 5 posts in a 24-hour span. If you make that all happen, that would be at the top. You'd be on the front page.
Listen,
Reddit All-Star.
I don't have it in me anymore. I don't. But I'm 100% open to stalking and killing a deer with a spear while whiskey drunk with Timmy. I think that's way more interesting in these days because I'm not 18 anymore. I don't drink gin shots anymore. Listen, if I can pay, all right, Timmy, you're a drink expert. In my opinion, the primary liquor that you do not shoot under any circumstance is gin. Am I right or wrong?
I mean, as a man of science, Matt Martin, I would say you're wrong in the sense that ethanol is ethanol. So the way that alcohol affects you differently is a lot of times what you're mixing it with. Things that have CO2 can enter your bloodstream sooner.
No, I can drink gin drinks
all
night long.
The whole thing of if I have Jack Daniels, like I'm gonna die, but I can drink, tequila with no problem.
No.
Most of that is just literally in people's heads.
Oh, I can drink gin and tonics, gin martinis, you name it, all night long, no problem. There is something particular about shooting gin. It is just not a pleasant experience. And I'm not saying sipping gin. I'm talking about you pour an ounce and a half or a twofer and you throw back a shot of gin. It is a horrific experience.
I mean, so I've been in this business since I was 14 years old. As I said, this is the very first time I've ever heard of anyone shooting gin. So very first, literally, you are breaking new ground in
you're special
peptides and shooting gin. So that's point 1. Point 2, I would ask you'd have to do this as some sort of scientific experiment where you shoot an equal amount of gin one night and an equal amount of, tequila the next week or something. Would it affect you differently? I mean, if the ethanol is the same, ethanol is the same. So it might depend on what you eat.
Overwhelming floral, herby notes of the gin. It burns different. It's not a pleasurable experience. It's the same kind of drunk. It's disgusting. It
sounds
gross.
Like faith-based alcohol consumption here is what this sounds like to me, Matt.
It is. It is. But if anybody gets a wild hair up their ass and is touring the cheap section of the liquor store and sees a handle of Barton's gin, don't buy it with the intention of shooting it. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
These are the life tips that people come here for.
We don't do that anymore,
yes.
right? Right?
Correct. I mean, low quality liquor is going to have more esters, which, at least in a certain sense, according to some research, might cause you more hangovers. Here's an interesting bit of thing. You guys obviously focus on academic research. There's actually not a lot of academic research done into hangovers, largely because nobody wants to fund it. People are concerned that funding research into hangovers is encouraging problem drinking. So most academic institutions won't do it. You'll see very little actual research done. It really wasn't until a couple of years ago we even exactly knew what a hangover was, and the idea of curing hangovers is again like kind of left to the faith-based people, if you will. There's clearly something to do with liquid and dehydration and things like that, but the exact mechanism and what you need to do to fix it is not scientifically known right now, no matter what anybody says. And again, that's largely because there's no research into it because nobody wants to fund said research. So.
I think you should just put green paint. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say just put some green paint on your digestive tract. I think should cure all hangovers. Links in description.
It cures everything else. So.
It does. It makes shit look better.
I know the actual cure for a hangover, but
here we go.
It involves
an ancient Hawaiian cure.
No, this is scientific.
Ancient Chinese secrets.
Is it bear extracts?
No bullshit.
I would do that. I would do that.
Bear extracts, yeah, me too.
Banana bag, a banana bag with some either Zofran or Finnegan in it.
Okay.
I don't
Ray
know
has
what
these
a
things
banana
laying
bag
around.
is, but I'm not sure I want to know what a banana bag is. I know what a banana boat is because of that scene with Denzel Washington.
What about a banana
bag? No, a banana bag is an IV of glucose, B vitamins, and vitamin C. Tully knows what it is.
Okay. I'd get down on that. IV me up.
And what that'll do, and even Aaron knows what that is too. It's called a banana bag, and they most frequently give that actually to people that go into the ER that are actually intoxicated because they want to prevent the problems caused by a B vitamin deficiency.
I'm
so there's actually
fan of.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like the Ween song "Bananas and Blow," but I guess that's not the same thing. What are you gonna say, Timmy?
There's actually a business in Las Vegas that it basically is a bus that's equipped with medical,
it's in Tennessee. We've got one here too.
With the saline solution and vitamins.
Yeah, where they come in and IV you up.
Yeah, they IV you up in the morning. Yeah, so I don't know.
We got one in Hawaii too. We got one in Hawaii too, where they show up in a van and they stick you.
These are not the Chinese execution vans, by the way.
Inject you with
no.
Do they have a YouTube channel though? That's what we really need to know.
So there was. I sent Sean Smith down a
wormhole. Sean is researching the genetic code for Provista as we speak. I don't know if you've been following the chat, but he's halfway to creating his own Provista. So.
Yes, and it turns out the gene and pathway related to the glyphosate resistance is the CP4 EPSP synthase. So just so everybody knows out there, we've got a scientist working on this. My question, Sean, is that when you manipulate that pathway, what side effects occur to the other pathways around it? Are you increasing susceptibility to other things as a result of manipulating that pathway? I'll send you down that wormhole next. What is it like? Listen, I'm going to dote for a second here. I am absolutely amazed at the quality of people that watch this or listen to this. If I have a question about how to impress my wife with a bottle of wine, a dinner, a recipe, impress a business partner, a business deal, I can reach out to Timmy Bluegrass. If I want to know genetic code, I can reach out to Sean Smith. If I need legal advice, I've got Jesse Bousquet. If I need electrical advice, we've got a host of electricians. If I want to make sure I'm up to fire code, Kenny Cooper's going to help me out. If I need a ride in a helicopter, Kelly Coleman's there. If I need a ride in an airplane, Ryan Knorr's there. I mean, it's the damnedest thing I'm just so proud of everybody in the chat right now and everything you bring to the table. All the IT guys that if you wanted to start an IT business, I tell you what, there's a million and one of them in the community and in the Discord, and they're all incredibly smart, have crazy high IQs. I mean, I'm just so impressed by everybody. That's all. I just want to say that. I'm doting on them. I love all y'all. I mean that. I'm not laughing. I'm dead serious.
We love you too. We love you too.
We love you too. Yeah, we're
I
impressed.
don't
by
know
you, man.
if this is coming from a place of deep love. We can tell.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me. I'm just flabbergasted. Okay. And all I can do is make fucking turkey noises, right? What does Matt bring to the table? Turkey noises. Good for you, Matt.
That's not true,
We can
Matt. You saved us all from at least me and a lot of the other people in this chat from. I mean, I never felt too deep into it because again, I found you at the early time, but some of these guys, into the trap of the BMS crowd. Let's leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
For now.
No, seriously. I mean, like I was following some of those guys when I first got into it. I found you. I was like, oh, this guy's like serious about science. I'm serious about science. Like, I still watch some of the other guys. I still bought some stupid shit, but not very much of it. And yeah, I mean, I learned pretty quickly from you.
Well,
I
thank
mean,
you.
it made a big impact. It made a really, really big impact, honestly.
I apologize in advance, or after the fact. So can we haven't talked a whole lot about your lawn and what's on the upcoming season, but as we wind this down, let's go ahead and do that.
Sure.
Let's take a look at your soil test that you're working with right now, because I did this prior to the show, and super simple shit here. I'd run a nitrogen program and a little bit of potassium, here and there. So good soil test. All right, we've established that. I guess, what are you thinking for next year? Yeah, what are you thinking for next
I
year?
mean, nothing fancy, honestly. I mean, just the same. Let me put it this way: nothing different. I use mostly synthetic fert. I'll do an organic app in late August and in late May. One thing I've done some research on my own is microbial activity related to organic ferts. That's a complex subject and probably more than we can get into today, but I still mess around a little bit here and there with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, mainly just urea and, I don't know, late spring. I don't do a ton of spring fertilization in general here. Again, that's something I've learned from Ray very well. Is I'm obviously trying to keep root mass growing as much as I can, and just giving it a little gas here and there. Potassium, yeah, I'll do some foliar potassium apps. Frankly, from your products, Matt, Depscythe is my main thing that I use. Just throwing in ounces, a couple ounces here, a couple ounces there with fungicide apps, just for K and a little bit of N during the heat. I mean, again, I don't use anything off label. I use for fungicides is Zoxy, Propiconazole, Clearies, Exemplar. That's essentially it. A couple other things here and there if I need to, but that generally covers me pretty much all the way around and gives me plenty of apps both for soil and for foliar apps. I think we talked about cutting heights. Irrigation, again, is just one of those things where I try and feel it out as best I can. Again, I have years of experience doing this, but nothing like what you guys have. And obviously with Provista, I'm still only one season in. So figuring out when I need to water and when I don't. Am I going to do ice next year? Honestly, I don't know. Like I said, it's fun. It makes for good conversation. This is probably the best, material I can provide you here other than energy drink nonsense. But on the other hand, this was, like I said, it was a ton of work. I'm exhausted at the end of the night. I don't know that I saw a ton of difference with it. Could I just go out and, do some spot watering instead and have maybe not equal results, but let's put it this way. I was doing all that ice and those areas looked pretty good, but not great. One of the biggest issues, and we talked about this and there were some pictures, was the rocks. And so the areas that were doing the roughest and I was putting the most ice on were places where I had rocks underneath. So I just dug all those out. Again, every year I think like, oh, I've got them all, or I've got the majority, or I've turned the corner on them. And then I never have. So there's just so much garbage in the soil. And that obviously prevents root growth when they're up towards the top. But I don't know. I got a lot out this year, so hopefully, and especially, I really focused on the places. I took pictures and documented exactly where the places were that looked the roughest during the height of the summer, and dug down in those areas. And almost every single one had some kind of rock underneath. So I pulled all those out. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably something I learned from Demay or something. Maybe I learned at the golf course was I've been using turf face. Whenever I aerate in the fall and whenever I'm digging crap out, I'm constantly dropping turf face in at like a 5
Ooh.
ratio with soil.
Ooh.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
that's really about it. I don't know. I mean, I can look at my plan here. I mean, I have, again, I use MFT. I use, actually, you know what I use? Again, I'm not pushing your stuff or anything, but I used Prefix, and I found I did a sort of trial again, as much as you can do on a home thing, where I did it on half of the front or half of one section of the front and not on the other. And again, as best I could tell, I had more sizable root mass in those places, even though I didn't use a pre-emergent. So I was just using it just for shits and giggles and for, again, trying to build root mass in Kentucky bluegrass. So I'll probably do that again. But yeah, I don't know. There's nothing real fancy here, so nothing real fancy.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. You don't really have anything just wildly complex, right? And when
No.
you're talking about Kentucky bluegrass in a difficult to control area, really, what it comes down to is nitrogen management. It sounds like you got that under control. You're using some variations of some slow release, feeding it when you need gas, backing off when you don't, and then your fungicide game. And that is really when you're growing in adverse conditions is what you've got to keep the closest eye of detail on. So if you've got that part figured out, then it's rock and roll time, and it's just how bizarre do you want to make things? How overly complicated do you want to make things? Do you want to do new dumb shit, or do you want to stick to the game plan that seems to be executing well? And if you've
Yeah, I
hit
mean,
that
largely
level of
stick to it.
homeostasis, stay with it.
I mean, I've had pretty good results I had a good result this fall for my first time painting. I've thought about messing around with pigment next year. I don't know. Is that worth it? Should I be doing that? Oh, hey, look, Mr. Princess Cut Lawn Care is in the chat. Hi, Princess. How are you,
Shout
sir?
out.
Shout
What's
out to
up, dude?
Princess in the chat.
George,
Shout
what's
out
up,
to
my
Hey.
Kenny.
man?
Yeah, I should do some shout
George,
outs here.
are you buried under snow right now? Because we had a
I can only
sizable snow
imagine.
today.
I can only
We got a
imagine.
full inch here, and
Yeah.
school's closed tomorrow
He's got
because of it.
he's
As
got
a
a good
matter of
level
fact.
rake though. He can get that soil, or excuse me, get that snow all leveled out and whatnot. He'll have it looking right. Not that crappy Ryan Nor level rake either. That stuff's garbage. Friggin' Ryan Nor.
They
Anyway, in all
they look.
seriousness, Matt, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do. I doubt I'll do pigments. Maybe again, it's an idea that's been in my head.
If there's one
I don't think I'm gonna
thing
change.
I want to, this is what
I
I
would.
want to hear. I don't want to. I don't want to hear
Go ahead.
New Year's resolution. I want to hear your one FAFO thing, your one fuck around and find out thing that you want to do this year. You had to pick one.
I mean, again, it would be pigment. I think that's the only thing I can think of.
Why pigment and not
Civitas?
paint? What are you thinking for
Well, I
pigment?
mean, you tell me, RD. But my understanding is pigments for growing grass, where paint's for dormant. Correct?
Basically, I mean, you can paint.
Yeah.
Trust me. Listen, if you watch football on television, you are
Yeah.
seeing painted live grass. So
No,
only-
yeah. Well,
the only bad part is that it's way more expensive to paint and it grows out of it. So that's the only bad thing. The pigment thing I think could work. The only thing I would worry about would be your dogs, because you were going to transfer a hell of a lot more pigment. So if it's only on the front and the dogs go out in the back,
yeah, it's only on the front.
no big thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I should be fine. Honestly, again, the back during the summer, I forget when that one picture was from, but it looks pretty good all summer long. Honestly, it looks a lot better than the front because of the shade. So, what happens during the late fall is that it'll start to thin out a little bit, just because again, it's the arc of the sun. Especially this area up here, you might even be able to see some. I don't know. It's hard to see, but some of these places where the leaves have fallen in are actually thinned out spots, just from lack of sunlight, because the house is where the picture is taken, if you will. So, um, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I would never paint back there. I haven't painted at all in terms of that. I would not use pigment back there. That's the dog's area. Again, it looks pretty good in that picture, but a lot of times there's. I don't think there's any urine spots in that picture, but there might as well be in some other ones. So, um, I just don't worry about the backyard as much. Let's put it that way. It is what it is, and Yeah, I definitely don't want the dog has white paws, so him coming in green, I'm sure would just send my wife
into orbit. Yeah.
What's his
Hey,
name?
listen.
Lawn Warrior's wife. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be one of those kind of situations. So yeah, it's just not worth it either. Again, the other thing is that, like I said, it doesn't need it during the summer, where the front really starts to suffer with color. Because again, that's full sun. Actually, I guess the f around and find out thing would be, and it's something
See,
actually.
I knew we
Well,
just
no,
need
it's
to get him
actually
talking,
it's
boys.
kind of it's not a
The
particular
bourbon's
thing.
the
It's more
bourbon's
just,
kicking in. The bourbon's kicking in.
oh yeah. No. One thing that Ray said during a Thirsty Thursday that really connected with me was he was talking about fungicides in areas where there's fences and not. And that just clicked in my head that where I have the biggest amount of fungus pressure is in the backyard where there's shade and it's completely fenced in. Where in the front is actually super windy and
No air movement.
if anything, I might just treat for summer patch there and let the rest of it roll unless I start to see something looking really funky. So I might actually cut back on a lot of the foliar fungicide apps up front. I just never really saw any issues there. I got a little bit of dollar spot really late, like around Halloween, which was crazy. Sorry, not dollar spot, gray leaf spot. I mean to say, not dollar. We almost never see it that late. But I had gray leaf spot around Halloween. That was pretty rough.
Okay.
But again, it cleared up very quickly with a 336 and propiconazole app. I mean, I'm talking about a matter of days. And that was also when temperatures were dipping. So yeah, I might cut back in terms of foliar apps in the front. But I don't know. That's about as close as it gets, honestly. So
You know what? I would probably encourage that one because, again, looking at your situation, and now that I've actually seen that wooden fence, that wooden fence is just giving me anxiety.
yeah, it needs to be stained,
Yeah.
is what it needs to be. That looks like
No,
shit.
no,
This picture,
no. I don't give a rat's ass about the fence. I mean, a
yeah.
match and some diesel takes care of the fence. But I'm talking about the effect that the fence has on the grass. Because
Yeah.
when I see a fenced in yard, then I look back and I'm like, okay, do I have Exteris on the truck? Do I have Lexicon on the truck? Do I have Signature Stress Guard on the truck? And do I have the 3336 around? Because that is what I'm thinking when I see a fenced in yard. Also, your yard backs into the woods,
Yep.
and that gives me even more anxiety. Because
Well, with a hill, there's no way. If I can ask, Timmy, in this photo, which way are we looking? Which cardinal direction are we looking here?
Southwest.
Okay, no, and
Yeah.
But
that's
I mean,
why I'm
I'm
getting
being
anxious.
serious.
That's the worst.
That's why I'm
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
no, it's
getting
bad.
anxious.
Everything prevailing is blocked. Like everything prevailing is blocked.
Yeah, no, completely.
So-
But on the other hand, it's again, I never had any issues here at all. Just with exemplar, propiconazole, Azoxy, and Cleary's.
I think
That's
you're.
That's a good.
I mean, again,
that's a-
I'm not saying that's a little. I know Telly Coleman's probably going
listen.
absolutely insane. Like he's like, that's the most fungicide I've ever heard of. But for Kentucky bluegrass in the transition zone, let's put it this way: there's nothing. I'm not going to say I've never used anything off label, but I didn't last season at all, and I don't know that I'll have the need to. So
I'm just saying, when it comes to fungicides and what you've got behind the bar, like there's no $2 well drinks in that lineup. All right, I'm just gonna say that.
no, but that's well. You got to understand too. Remember, Ryan, that this is a 3,000 square foot lawn, so that back.
Oh yeah,
section is
no.
1,000 square feet.
I get it,
It's
and I
not-
think if I was you, trust me, I would do the same thing. I don't have any qualms about having high end stuff. Listen, Ray,
Yeah.
you know this about me.
Mhm.
Everybody says, "Oh my God, you suggested something that's $1,000 a bottle." What was Matt saying last week? Man, I bought that $1,000 bottle of Exonerate.
Exonerate.
And
Yeah.
y'all didn't clean up my Poa Anua, Matt. Listen to it.
Mhm.
Poa Anua. Ears are bleeding. But listen, like that stuff is expensive because it works. There's not a lot. There's not in the fungicide market. There is not a lot of expensive shit where I'm like, I wouldn't spend the money. Like, if it's expensive, generally speaking,
There's
it
a reason.
works.
There's a reason for it. Yeah, there's a damn good reason for it, because early on, when Lexicon first came out,
Mhm.
everybody was hopping up and down about, oh my god, that 21-ounce bottle costs
$500 an acre. Oh my god.
Oh my god. But then, you know what? Shut
Drop
up,
in the bucket.
because shut up, because $500 at the end of the day only buys me about 100 square feet of sod.
Well, and you got Matt Martin over here, who's like, Mrs. Jones
Stroking.
asked for, can you tell me how much a fungicide program for my lawn would take? And Matt's like, I'm gonna go full exemplar, full agency. Matt, the left side of your face is drooping, actually. Sorry,
Stroking.
Sorry,
it's my Bell's palsy kicking in. Sorry about that. Get it from time to time.
But
the funny part is like the Exteris, the Lexicon, all that stuff that like it's expensive. Don't get me wrong, but like if you look at it, and I think Timmy, we've talked about this before. You look at it the same way of, you got a small lawn, but also like cost per day of control. And that's where the value is. Now, I understand in a lawn care program for Mrs. Jones, when you go out there and tell her, well, we're going to give you three apps of Lexicon, and we're going to do some 336, and for your 5,000 square foot lawn, we're going to give that to you for the low price of $869.
So,
and a
and
smile.
I want to highlight this real quick, is that, when we talk about the differences between turf managers and lawn care, that is a gigantic difference right there. And it may not make sense to a lot of people, right? But that is a major, major difference. I'm telling you right now that if I get a call from the general public and they ask me, do you spray Lexicon? I'm going to laugh and probably hang up, because that's not my ideal customer, right? Were you? I think you were calling, not me. You've got the wrong number.
No, what you would say is, well, ma'am, I can give you, instead of giving you propiconazole at the 2-ounce rate, I can go with the 3-ounce rate. Like Timmy says, listen, if you don't want to buy a Grey Goose or if you don't want to buy a Grey Goose or something in the middle of the road, like, I'll give you I'll give you a double, a heavy pour of some Pop Off or something you'd buy over at like, Giant or something like that.
You got to go Burnett's, man. Blue top or bust.
But yeah, hey, you are completely right about that. Like, golf is at one stratosphere, sports turf is at another, and then lawn care is down here. And I don't mean to, I'm not ragging on lawn care. I'm just saying, like, disease management at those three levels is wildly different. Even though we're growing the same crop, right? And generally trying to do the same things, it's drastically different. Expectation wise, budget wise, and yeah.
But also, Matt, how many clients do you have come to you in your days and be like, I'm growing 100% Kentucky bluegrass lawn? Zero.
And I want it to look pristine.
Yeah, I mean, never.
Nobody.
Kentucky bluegrass.
Well, let me ask this. This is a good question for Matt. Like, it is on the lawn care side, what was the nicest lawn you ever treated where like you were not afraid to be like, this is the price, and I don't feel bad about telling you what the price is?
So there were definitely a couple of estates that I took care of. Not so much in Memphis. There was one that a guy actually had built a
Graceland.
Yep. Where you can ride on the inner tube and do a float, right? Like
a lazy river. Fucking lazy river.
There was a lazy. Wow.
And it was all iron gated.
He's my hero.
Acres, right? And that guy, I had no problem, because he, it was always whatever it takes. When I was in Augusta, Georgia, I took care of some really, really high end horse farms, and there was no there was no budgetary concern, especially related to whatever weird needed to have happen because of, they didn't want any risk of exposure to the horses or whatever the case may be. Like, if they needed to move the horses to another farm for a month to be able to make an application of whatever, that was totally okay. But these are the same people that also brought in rail cars of a very, very specific sand, and they had these huge water cannons that would keep the sand wet so it didn't blow away with the wind. Just so, yes, I've experienced things like that, but it's very far and few between, right? I mean, that is like over 10 years of doing it. How many times did I come across it? 15, 20 properties, 25 properties maybe, that were just like, there's zero regard for cost whatsoever. It's all about quality.
The outcome. Yeah, the outcome. I get it. I know that's what Ray does, and that's, I mean, again, I think that's why, and let me riff here for a second. I think that's why the majority of people, besides, I mean, your good looks, Ray's charm, and me being fat, drunk, and stupid, is why people listen to us. But the diversity, the diversity in approaches, thoughts, mindset, all that kind of stuff, like the stuff that you cringe at, Ray and I are like, yeah, so, and then the stuff that you say, hey, I'm out there with a Mancazeb, running it out of a permagreen. Ray and I are like, oh god, like just there's something to be said there. So all right, so Timothy Bluegrass, if you're interested in the pigment thing, I will we'll talk after the show. I will send you something. I will send you probably the best one out there. We'll figure out. I got to figure out what it is. We'll get it. I know what it is, but like how to get it to you and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that off the show.
What are you going to recommend? I'm curious.
Harold's Par SG.
Par. Okay.
By far the best pigment out there right now. By far.
Okay.
So I would strongly recommend that. Civitas, Matt, you mentioned that is a pigment and a hort oil all in one. I would not spray that at all in temperatures over 75 degrees. Bad things happen to cool season turf. Now, warm season turf, you'd be surprised. You can actually make some stuff grow even faster than you normally do with Civitas. However, it's not labeled for residential. It's only labeled for golf and sports turf right now.
Oh, because it has a fungicide label. Gotcha.
It has, some states label it as a fungicide, correct. So they've been very, very careful to just not even mess around with lawn care.
What about said, one of the? Hey, I'm going to interrupt. One more. I want to ask about. One of the generics, Foursome Plus by Qualipro. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, Foursome's it's a fine product too. There's a guy. I'll see if I can pull his most recent paper. He works for Ohio State. And he's probably like the foremost expert right now on pigments and light. Actually, there's two guys. One guy's done a lot of the pigment work. One guy's done a lot of the light quality research. And those two guys are probably the preeminent guys in the country on this subject. And so the pigment guy I know has had a ton of good success with Par in terms of not only ease of application and the transfer thing and all that stuff, but just in terms of turf quality, longevity, cost, like averaging out all those things, right? It's probably the best one out there. So the good thing about this too, gentlemen, with Harold's, there will be no links in the description below because they are a private company, and if any of the BMS people approach them, they're a very polite company. They would not say any bad words, but they would politely go tell them to go outside and play hide and go fuck themselves. Oops. Sorry.
Well, yeah, Harold's would basically, the actual content of their conversation would be, we do not have any dealings with people that intend to resale to consumers.
Yep, they do not mess around with that. I'll give them credit.
You see Yeah, you see, Harold's, the moment you ever suggest that your business involves resale of products to consumers, click. Okay? Click. That's it. It's so for example, the person whom I won't name, there's no chance in hell that he'd be able to strike up a deal where Harold's products could ever be sold on his website, for example. Not happening.
Well, gentlemen, we are up on time. We are going to have to take this to the after show. For those of y'all playing along at home and don't know what we're talking about, we do produce a lot of content that has never seen the light of day, and that's left for the people that support the channel in exceptional ways. If you are interested in additional content, it is grown-up content. It is way more grown-up content than what you see here live on YouTube. There's two ways you can do this. You can either become a channel supporter right behind you, right underneath you where it says join, or you could go to patreon.com/burn and return. And what that will give you is going to be access to live recordings of our podcast, the major pre-show that we do prior to the podcast. How much fun is that pre-show, by the way? Because we're always in a weird mood beforehand. And we get really weird on it.
We go as hard in the paint as you can possibly go with 5 pounds to give. That's what we do. Right. We get kicked out of the game.
It is some people are charged up on meth. We're charged up on methane. And it is the wild west for sure. So like I said, if you're interested in that, feel free to check it out those 1 or 2 ways. We will have a link for the show in Dirty D's for 10 minutes alone. Then it's gone forever. Like literally after that, it's deleted. The video can never be rewatched. It's gone. It disappeared. So you get one opportunity alone. And that is it. But if you're not into that sort of thing, that's why I'm giving you the warning now. Do not join if that type of thing hurts your feelings or whatever the case may be, because obviously we don't want to put you in a position you don't want to be in. So there. All right, we are headed to the after show. Timmy Bluegrass, thank you for coming on and being a guest. DeMay, Ray, look, boys, it's been real, but let's go get real.
Really real.
For the next hour or so.
Really real.
All right.
Really real.
Let's go put some holes in. Oh, what?
Hell yeah.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to
say, let's go put some Molson on. Oh.
No, not Molson on. God damn it. No, let's go put some more holes in Matt. Bye.
Yeah.